Crowds march in defiance against police aggression in the United States as new cases are quickly picked up by the media. Shelling attacks destroy homes in eastern Ukraine, despite a truce that has been largely holding since February.
Most of the ceasefire violations are taking place here. This is the hottest spot in eastern Ukraine right now, and this settlement just outside of this completely destroyed.
And thousands of NATO troops parade across Europe in a wave of war games. On RT International, we look at why they are there and what the locals think about it. The latest world headlines live on RT International. Thank you very much for joining us today. In cities on America's east and west coasts, thousands have been taken to the streets to demand an end to police brutality. In New York, demonstrators blocked off central streets and part of Brooklyn Bridge. Scuffles broke out and dozens of people were detained. Arrests were also made in Los Angeles, where protesters blocked a city metro line. RT's Alexei Rashevsky met some of the activists.
Now what we see right now is a banner passing by us with just a fraction of all the people, all the faces who were killed by police ever since 1994. The most recent cases in South Carolina, in Oklahoma, have all been discussed here. The families of those who lost their loved ones due to police violence, police brutality, have also been speaking from the stage. So the organizers of this protest have told us that they were very happy with the turnout and they are not planning to stop.
There's got to be accountability in America for police shooting down folk. But it's a love march. That's what it is.
Those who organized this particular one assuring us this is the first of many, and they will not stop until they get some results, until they see at least steps in the direction of indicting the police officers who have been killing unarmed civilians in the streets of America for the last 2 decades.
And public anger has been fueled by cases like this. Warning you, what you're about to see is disturbing. Police cruiser on the right. Taken out that man there, a robbery suspect. The police said they had to run him down because he was armed. He was taken to hospital. He did later survive that.
Jesus Christ, man.
Now, police officials have also defended a Texas officer who punched a pregnant woman. And police came to Deanna Robinson's home to follow up on a report of child abuse. And she told the officers she was pregnant, but that didn't stop them getting physical. They later explained that she had reached for a weapon. We heard from Deanna and her lawyer.
They shoved the door open. They shoved into me, pushed into my kitchen forcefully, put their hands on me, spun me around, shoved me into the corner of the kitchen and began pressing on me. I was immediately handcuffed. You can see the officer begin to punch me in the lower back.
Mrs. Robinson has been accused by this officer that you see punching her with assaulting him, which is just ridiculous. And so we are fighting for those charges and the charges of resisting arrest and interference with child custody to be dismissed. They are bogus charges. She did not do these things.
More on the brutality debate and stories from civilian victims on our website, rt.com. A European monitoring mission in Ukraine has reported a sharp spike in ceasefire violations. A tentative truce has been in place since February, but over the past few days, heavy shelling has destroyed homes and injured people in Donetsk. That's exactly where our Murat Gazdiev reports from right now.
Вот это все разбито 12 февраля. Ой, я не знаю, что они хлопают. Я боюсь, я боюсь.
Was the sound of a landmine exploding during a field trip by international observers and journalists to the village of Shirokino.
Живой?
An unfortunate cameraman had set off a booby trap, reportedly left behind by retreating Ukrainian troops. Luckily, the OSCE had brought a medic along. It was battlefield triage. The cameraman survived, though his condition remains serious. But the event exemplifies how brittle the ceasefire in eastern Ukraine is.
I'm looking forward to discuss this incident that we have witnessed today with the commanders in charge, and we will see how we then can remedy this situation so that the civilians in this town are not suffering any further.
It's no surprise that enforcing a ceasefire on a front that stretches hundreds of kilometers is a tough job. We're as close to Donetsk airport as is sensible to be. It's just a few hundred meters that way. You can probably hear the gunfire. Most of the ceasefire violations are taking place here. This is the hottest spot in eastern Ukraine right now, and this settlement just outside it is completely destroyed. A short drive through empty streets and we were at Donetsk railway terminal, merely a few kilometers from the front lines. What's great about the train station is that it's far enough away to be safe and high enough to offer a great view of what's happening. And it's here that the monitors have set up their base. We have representatives of both sides, both warring sides as well as OSCE observers, watching and reporting on what's going on. If you have a look over there, you can see the smoke rising from one of the explosions. This evening was especially hot. The OSCE recorded events while the military representatives made calls in an effort to convince the belligerents to stop shooting. By and large, the ceasefire is holding. The exchanges are a shadow of what they were before the Minsk deal took hold. But the day's events go to show that this ceasefire is one that needs constant vigilance. Morad Gazdiev, RT from Donetsk, eastern Ukraine.
Coming up here on the program, Yemen descends further into chaos, with hundreds of civilians killed, residential areas destroyed, and a full-scale humanitarian crisis gripping that country. That story's just ahead. Also, the thin and crispy versus the quarter pounder. Find out why pizza makers are declaring war on McDonald's in just a few moments.